So the articles are starting to come out now that Ubisoft is currently in talks over a potential buyout with Tencent. Now, over the last 3 or 4 months or so, with the cancellation of XDefiant and the subsequent layoffs of those studios, the cancellation of Division Heartland, the piss-poor sales reception of Star Wars Outlaws, the team behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown being essentially disbanded even though the game sold well and was reviewed even better, and the cancellation of a ton of other projects internally, we have seen these rumors that Tencent is looking to get a bigger stake in the company. And usually when we start to see articles like this roll out, it's really only a matter of time. Now, the reason why this is being held up right now, according to other articles that are slowly rolling out over the last couple of days, is that Tencent and the Guillemot brothers aren't coming to an agreement as quick as they need to because they're having internal disputes over control of the company. Sources close to the matter told Reuters that the Guillemot Brothers Limited, run by the family of the same name, including Ubisoft co-founder and long-serving CEO Yves Guillemot, hopes to retain the control it currently has over Ubisoft after the deal is done. However, Tencent is said to be holding off taking part in the buyout and increasing its stake until it's been promised a greater influence when it comes to future board decisions. And apparently discussions are ongoing between the two, in part to help prevent any other investor performing a hostile takeover of Ubisoft, with sources claiming that Tencent plans to bide its time and wait for the Guillemot family to agree to its conditions. So, I mean, essentially, Tencent's just like, you need us way more than we need you. We'll just wait. And amongst these discussions, we now have industry experts predicting that Ubisoft is heading towards privatization and dismantling in 2025. Industry expert Just van Drunen, founder of the now absorbed analyst firm Superdata, believes that the French publisher will essentially be made private while it sells off pieces of its former self. And if that prediction does come true, in 2025, we'll potentially be seeing the selling of valuable IPs like Rainbow Six Siege, Assassin's Creed, Ghost Recon could go to the highest bidder, and Splinter Cell, the remake that we're never going to get. Now, for me, I don't know if it's going to be dismantled. I don't know if they're going to go private with Tencent taking over the company in a controlling position. All I know is 2025 is about to be the craziest year for Ubisoft that I think we'll ever be able to document on this channel. And I've been following these guys for years now, and we're getting to the end game here. And for me, I have a feeling that we're going to hear some more news about this throughout the week, with the actual announcement most likely happening before the end of the year. And I gotta say, for December, Tencent is having a banger month. The release of games like Delta Force and Marvel Rivals proves that they can create games, or at least be a part of games being created, that are appealing to Western audiences. With Delta Force peaking a 24-hour peak of 116,000 players, and Marvel Rivals trumping that even by hitting a 24-hour peak of 480,990 on Steam alone. The last time a game like Rainbow Six was peaking at 100,000 players was earlier this year with the release of their new season, and before that, you're looking at almost 3 years ago. It's tough to compare Ubisoft IPs with their all-time peaks in the stats because, truthfully, they always launch them on Uplay first, so we never get to see that first-day spike numbers, so we can actually see how well these IPs are actually doing. But I have a feeling that Ubisoft hasn't seen an all-time peak of 480,000, at least on one platform, in quite a few years. And I know there's always going to be controversy when you bring up the words Tencent and gamers in the same conversation, because most gamers online will tell you that they hate China. But in these cases, the numbers are speaking for themselves. Tencent is doing things that Western developers wish they could. And if I may sprinkle in a bit of my own opinion on this subject matter, I think you guys all know, I think Yves Guillemot has ran Ubisoft into the fucking ground. I think Ubisoft has ballooned to a company that is so unsustainable when it comes to the gaming market that they don't even know what the fuck they're doing anymore. I would love to see somebody else come in and run a much tighter ship, cut the bloat, cut the bullshit, and start funding projects that are sustainable with the budget, the team size, and the potential returns. Because like I said in my last video, if XDefiant reaching 15 million players in the first, 5 days, If those numbers aren't enough to put you into the green, you are doing something seriously wrong. So I definitely, at this point, I understand Tencent's hesitation. Like, if we're going to buy into this, things need to drastically change. And I think everybody watching from the outside perspective definitely has those same feelings. But of course, Yves Guillemot, like, Ubisoft is his baby, and he wouldn't want to give that up. But I really do think, as somebody who is a major fan of how Ubisoft used to be, I think they're too far gone to keep continuing down the same path and continue the status quo. During a live stream, somebody in chat brought these articles to my attention, and this is what I said in response to the question of, like, what I would do differently if I was in Ubisoft's position. We had Ghost Recon, we had Splinter Cell, we had fucking Tom Clancy's End War, you know, all these great ass games, right? When the Ubisoft of that was making them, I don't know the actual number, but let's say Ubisoft at the time was 5,000 employees. When you take, you know, 6 or 7 development teams and they're making multiple games, the overhead is a lot less, so they needed to make less money on each one to be able to come out ahead. As Ubisoft ballooned from, say, 5,000 to where they're at now, which is 18,000 plus employees, every game they make now has to make buco bucks, which means they can no longer make games tied to specific niches for smaller communities. They have to make games that appeal to the widest fucking demographic ever, because they need to make as much money along the line to be able to pay for their 18,000 fucking employees that, in my opinion, half of these motherfuckers don't even know how to make a fucking video game, right? There is no reason why Ubisoft has 18,000 employees and is putting out the absolute fucking garbage that they've been putting out all these years. And even so, the games that they've been putting out have been few and far between. You know, you think back in the day, dude, we had Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy's End War, we had Hawks, we had Brothers in Arms, there was a publishing outfit, we had fucking Prince of Persia, we had Rayman, we had all of these games, dude. When was the last Rayman game we saw? When was the last fucking Prince of Persia we saw? Oh, yeah, the Prince of Persia side-scroller that didn't even launch on Steam was, what, $60, $70? They didn't even bother pricing it within the market of the games that they're trying to make because, again, they have to make as much money as possible. But the way that they're going about making this money, it isn't working. And we've all been calling it for years. It isn't working. The money that they're flooding back to this 18,000 like overhead isn't enough to cover the overhead. So then the game shut down. Ubisoft has 18,000 employees. They had what? The Ghost Recon Battle Royale. They canceled Heartland, right? Now they canceled X Defiant. The only game that we know for sure that has a release date from Ubisoft is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, if I'm a company with 18,000 employees and we have one game with a concrete release date that, by the way, was just delayed, you're fucked. So I'll be curious to see what happens with this buyout. We've heard rumors that PlayStation was looking at buying out Ubisoft. I think now that all of these articles are coming out saying like they're in talks with Tencent, there's a dispute over power, I think that the Tencent buyout is inevitable at this point, and I think it's just a matter of time. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Tencent buying out Ubisoft and taking control of that company is a net positive for gamers? Do you think it's a net negative? I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you guys do leave a comment down below, let me know what you guys think Ubisoft needs to do to get back on track. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of different answers down there, but I'm curious to see your guys' perspective. My name is BigFry. Leave a like on the video and subscribe for more industry news, FPS content, and everything in between. And I'll see you on the next one.